Okay. As I said, as a target individual, there's one thing that your ecosystem is supposed to do. It's obvious that, and I will bring that up all the time because it is something that is continuously done to us to forget reality. They are trying to change reality. And this is done by entities that are utilizing this technology that can manipulate your brain. They are changing the way we react and experience anything. They can control our thoughts to have any thoughts. And the thoughts are really disturbing and perverted in a non-normal way, in a pedophilia way. It's disgusting. But you have people like here, in every shape and form, trying to make you accepting of this. With me, the psyop, the facade I've mentioned, I think my first video was like in 2020. I was talking about how they're using a lot of what you see, how you see these individuals, as a way to make you be accepted. If you go to my videos and see, I forgot the name of this of my video, and I think I need to look it up. I was talking about how in my description, it's like there is there's tactics to try to gaslight you into accepting this manipulation. People who are usually that in any other circumstances you might see them as reasonable individual, people that you should somewhat respect, that they will not be illogical. Those are the people you utilize, and you can hear the noise campaign. This is specifically to interrupt me. So you hear that. This is to stop me from putting things in perspective, right? Because this is a governmental program. The Department of Defense has been doing this program, working on this program for years. And this is a way to continuously improve this technology. And they use human subjects. And that's why you hear these sirens that come, like random sirens. And you can hear there's like a siren that's purposely heard to be understood that this person is trying to interrupt what I'm trying to say. Because this is how this program is that big, in the sense that everybody around you are trying to make you accept these manipulations, regardless of all this obvious validations. It's just surreal. You see people like them, and that's what going back to what I said. With me, they think that based on how these people present themselves out. And for me, it's like, okay, if somebody appears to be very reasonable, logical, parents or people who have an appearance of, we're rational, logical people. Now, when you see us talking and say that we are not manipulating you, we're mapping you, we find it in your childhood. This reaction is a childhood reaction that today we're making you experience. These people, some of them have children, especially if you look at the lady at the bottom there. She has children in the early teen. Imagine you tell this woman, hey, ma'am, we are making your brain be the brain of your young children, your early teen children brain. Right? She'll look at you as like, do you think I'm like, are you insane? What do you mean? They're kids. What are you making my brain but in this case, because they understand what it needs to be done, they need to make me accepting of this manipulation. And I should not listen to this very, very surreal testimonials from other target individuals who are saying the same thing as I'm saying. I mean, to a way that's unbelievable. Literally saying they are manipulating my brain in these pedophilia ways, saying that I'm experiencing this pedophilia type of torture. But because this person, they are parents, I'm supposed to be like, you know what? Everybody else is saying that, but me, it's just mapping. They're making me be a child. As if that makes sense on its own. But that's not been the case. They are forcing me to get stimulation. They are making me experience something that I would not experience if I was myself. If I was not being manipulated this way. And I'm not the only one saying that. Multiple people are saying that. Multiple target individuals are saying the exact same thing. It's surreal. Matter of fact, they go even further. For me, when it comes to women, right, they start making themselves believe that them being women is different. It makes them, this program not be run by a governmental entity, but some kind of femme fatale, rogue entity that has nothing to do with these governmental entities that are obviously doing this. They really want me to just ignore this weird fact that happened, that this weird reality of this. Listen to this.
1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. The project reportedly ended in 1969, but DARPA's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control the brain continues to this day.
So somehow, it's just a coincidence that these governmental entities have been for a long time. We're talking. This is the 60s, right? This is basically what is open for the public. That DARPA in the 60s was going through this program that been experimenting on human beings using electromagnetic radiation waves. And so I'm supposed to believe that, this is different now. This is like a group of femme fatale, woke protectors of children running this program. This has nothing to do with governmental entities doing this. Matter of fact, next to her, you see a woman called Catherine Nestor. Catherine Nestor spoke at the Bioethic Committee in 2011. She clearly said, listen, me and my young child are being used as test subjects. They're doing this tormenting technology. They're using this technology onto us, and it's causing us damage that is not only psychological but even physical. But actually, listen to this.
Ms. Catherine Nestor.
Thanks. My name is Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MKUltra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And I won't go into the details of that because I have 4 pages written in here that is very similar to Connie's testimony. Please do not wait 70 years to investigate this. I ask Dr. Amy Gutmann to begin today. There is new work for the Commission for Human Subject Protection on our shores. And please give us a dramatic response, Susan. And please give us a congressional hearing. Thank you.
You hear, this is the woman speaking. Her name is Catherine Nestor, right next to her. Now, I'm in the same program as this woman. The government is running this program, and they use test subjects of all genders, of all ages, meaning that even women and children, matter of fact, in this case, it's a woman and her young child being tortured with this electromagnetic technology and this very sophisticated technology that is obviously technology that DARPA has been working on for years, and other intelligence community entities like the CIA. CIA had their own they were the first one to start working on the mind control and how we can control the mind, but they were using drugs and other ways to kind of see how, and they actually were successful in certain ways because things have happened, but they weren't using this machinery to the level of DARPA. DARPA since the 60s tried electromagnetic radiation, and so you can only imagine now how far they are. And it's obvious the Department of Defense is working on this program, is not working, is running this program. And what we are is just test subjects. Like any machine learning technology, you need multiple subjects. You need a lot of database to perfect a technology, because the way you manipulate me might not be exactly the same way that was going to work for somebody else. But they continuously do use the same tactics, right? They use the same system and tweak around what they need to tweak around to make sure that it's efficient throughout everybody. It's nasty, but that's the reality. So that means that they're also torturing children. I'm not talking about like a long time ago. Today, this woman that you see here, have children, and she knows that children that she has at her age, the age of her children, are being tortured right now. She's very much aware of that. She's doing whatever she needs to block it out, and she's aware that the entities that she's now contracted she's involved in by participating in my torture are involving in torturing children. It's crazy. But that's the things they do. Because the opportunities of involving themselves in this is just worth enough for them to block out the reality that they are involved in a program that tortures children, hurting and harming children. It is disgusting. For me, it's like, what should happen to people who are involved in programs or whatever organizations that participate in torturing children for the purpose of human studies, or not even human study, technology development? What should happen to a man or woman who themselves have children, work or involve themselves in a program that not openly, but easily you can find out that they are doing this thing to children, and they are tricking themselves to block that out? For me, they're like, no, it's our money. We're different. We're using our material. This has nothing to do with these governmental entities that obviously have been doing this for years. So for me, it's been like a psyop. And the most disturbing psyop for me is there's multiple psyop that disturb me the most, but there's nothing worse than to see women, especially women with children, that think that because they're women, that for them it's okay to involve themselves in a program that torture even children and women. You heard that. If you cared about your child, if you really wanted to stand up for something right, if you wanted to dare, you'd be like, yo, we have to stop this thing. It's destroying women and men and children all around the world, especially women. For our women, for our children, they're being used as test subjects. No, these trash are not opportunists. So I understand the reality. I don't want to get lost in this psyop. I want to see. I just say these things to continuously see these things for what it is. I don't want to get lost in this fabricated reality they put together. Because those are kind of people who are trying to do that. They want you to forget the reality of what is happening. They even try to make me believe that what I'm experiencing is not even manipulation. But what they're doing is they're making your brain mapping. They map that they define. You know how disturbing it is to know the reality of who's doing this? You're going to listen. I'm telling you, God works in magical ways, because as they try to make me accept these nasty manipulations, the validation that these entities that are running this program are they are a threat to children. There is a problem with those entities, because we're talking about the Department of Defense. We're talking about, it's disturbing. No, but not only that. Okay, let's not even go that far, because let's stay within the program before I go into who's running the program, which everybody knows is the Department of Defense, and we will talk about Department of Defense with obviously the expertise of the CIA. This is easy to figure that out. Matter of fact, if you hear this in the 60s, they were already using electromagnetic radiation to see if how can it impact the brain, and how you can alter the brain like that. Can you only imagine? Like, okay, let me guess. The DoD is not involved in this, obviously, because DARPA in the 60s was already doing these things. But somehow now it's just like a woke progress. It's so disturbing. But that's how stupid they have to make themselves be. Then above this, you see a man with his child. It's so disgusting. What the way this is one of my coworkers. He has this very wholesome picture. It's so disturbing the way they force me to look at his little girl. Beautiful little girl. This is a wholesome picture. In my head, this is disgusting. They're even trying to morph this little girl's face into like a woman, so they can create some kind of stimulations. It is so disgusting. And give me these stimulations, and they want me to feel guilty for these manipulations. Like, you guys are disgusting low life, but that's what you guys do. These manipulations are things that I've been doing to others, pushing them to losing their mind. Next to him, you see a man who's no longer with us. He was killed during the mass shooting that happened in October. He's also holding his baby. About the same age. I think they're about the same age in regard to the child. The kids are about the same age. This little girl will never have a father. Because a man who was a target individual lost his shit because the way he was being tormented. He was tormented in ways that perhaps other target individuals have been tormented. That's why I know he's a target individual. It's just so freaking consistent with other testimonials. Listen to what happened in October of the last year of 2023.
Last week, from New York Times, I'm Michael Barbaro. This is The Daily. Today, the mass shooting that occurred in Maine last week, killing 18 people, was the country's deadliest of the year. It may also have been one of the most avoidable.
Sheriff's deputy to speak with the family. And in that interview, the teenage son and the ex-wife say that he has started to hear voices. He started to be increasingly paranoid and angry. They also know
The solution to this problem, which is work with the Army Reserves.
I think that's right.
Okay, so what happens next?
So the next thing we know that happens is in July. Card travels with his reserve unit to West Point, New York for an annual training exercise. And there's a very concerning incident that takes place. They're all hanging out together at a motel, and he starts accusing them of calling him a pedophile. This is one of his paranoid delusions that comes up repeatedly.
So, sounds familiar? This man died because somebody lost his mind, because voice to skull was utilized. He was a test subject, and they were using this technology. The government is testing on us, target individual, and he lost his mind. Also using the same pedophilia type of torture. Like, I don't know if he was getting the stimulations or the manipulation in the sense that he was forced to experience this stimulation, but he was just being called a pedophile, which is enough to lose. Somebody insult you like that, that's death. Like, this can push somebody to kill easily. So he kept hearing that. He's like, okay, well, you know what? I'll show you something. I'm going to shoot this whole place up. And he did. And then killed himself. Listen, this sounds familiar to another mass shooting that just happened. But my point is, this man is here, involving himself in this program. You know how many times they've been using he has pictures of his kid like that. And actually, I've been there for a few years, so you can see the first pictures when she was like a little girl, which they stimulate me, and now when she's like an older little girl. And so they did these nasty things, and he was always happy when it was happening. He's like, haha, he was like laughing. Now look at him, next to somebody who lost his life because somebody was pushed to that level. To interrupt me right now, they're saying some disgusting things. It's meant to stop me from saying what I'm saying, because there's a coworker of mine, you can see the blurred face, involved in a program where they're pushing people to lose their mind. Next to him is a father who is no longer alive, and this little girl will never have a child. And this little girl will never have a father. You see how they're twisting my words? Because people like him are pushing men and women to lose their mind, and some men are losing their mind to the point of killing and causing the life of kids like that never having fathers, or at least biological fathers, while they're here showing their children so they can do the pedophilia type of tormenting. Not to interrupt me from saying that somebody's like, oh, you're gonna be fisted, right? They leave off. They want me to stop seeing things for what it is. Whatever's gonna happen to me, right? I'm just saying, I will never give them that fantasy they wanted. They wanted to delude themselves that somehow these people are some femme fatale fierce. They're just cowards, trash, that will get theirs. This level of cowardness, this foulness of living, it comes at a price. I've seen some of them. I'm telling you, some of these people are not all the way stable. This empowers them. It gives them an empowerment that they don't have in their life. They can't even control what's going on in their life, but in this program, it empowers them by the cost of this. They do these things, they manipulate the brain in this pedophilia type of torture. And for me, because I'm not acceptive of these manipulations, they tell me how I'm going to be fisted right. Because they were trying to box in this the way they made me experience seeing this coworker who's a perp, children, because they manipulate me in these nasty ways. So she thought, this perp talking to me via V2K, voice to skull, she thought if I say, oh, you're going to be fisted right, I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, this is going to happen to me. So I should accept these manipulations. This is the type of tactics, this psychological torture, to try to make somebody identify with these manipulations. These horrible things I'm going to go through is going to happen to me because I'm in the program where they manipulate the men and women in these pedophilia ways of responding. I'm going to be tortured by people who damn near are pedophiles. And when I mean that, maybe they're not going to be the one torturing me physically, but the people who are going to push me to get to that point of torture are the same people who are definitely very pedophilia-centric. So I'm okay with this horrible death as long as I didn't live my life in this horrible way, in the sense of living life where I'm manipulating men or women to look and experience these nasty things when seeing children. Because look at this man. He's here enjoying the company. He has a nice picture of his child. Excited when I'm looking at his profile picture because they're going to make me have this nasty pedophilia reaction, which he knows very well that I know is being manipulated. If I have doubts that they are now making me experience these things, one thing that you target individuals and anybody's watching that, we are validated by the consistency of what we're experiencing is not experienced by only us target individual. I mean, no uniquely to one target individual. What they do, just like any development of any technology, they have to be consistent in the way they manipulate target individual to see what they need to tweak. And also when things works, they're going to use the same. What changed something that's working? The pedophilia type of torture is not a term that I myself created. This is a term somebody else said. Listen to this.
What is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted dreams and videos in my...
You just heard the pedophilia type of torture. I never used that word until I heard that word. This is a target individual who's been targeted for years. And you heard even the smell of a baby powder. Even the smell of baby powder they created this nasty reaction to it that is pedophilia-centric. Now, this man is intellectual enough to understand that, okay, well, that's weird. Huh, really? She also called herself a target individual. She sounds just like what this guy is saying. So, of course, he knows. Of course, he knows very well that I'm being manipulated. That woman below, of course she knows that these manipulations are consistently done onto others. Like they are as smart as I am, if not smarter than me. So somehow they think that in my case, in my targeting, this is not happening to me. When you hear this woman literally saying something that I've said before, you know, I was writing letters to people before I knew what target individual was. So you think this person who is some kind of analyst or strategist doesn't know that? That somehow in her mind is like, no, we're not doing the pedophilia type of torture. That's kind of weird. Well, who said that? But we're making him think like a child. This is what we're doing. We don't have this tendency of manipulate people in these pedophilia ways. Matter of fact, look at the guy above. This is so disgusting. This is when you know you're compromised. Even his face, I wish you could see the real picture. The face of somebody who's compromised, who knows better, who knows that the reality is just too, it's just humiliating because the validation that we have as target individuals is just surreal. You definitely have to dumb yourself down. You have to make yourself a freaking retard Sorry for the language, but you have to make your brain not seeing reality. You have to really escape reality as far as you can, because it's just so obvious that there is a clear pattern that they do these things to systematically break down the target individual. And this is part of how they pattern the target individual. They want you to identify to something that you're not. They know you're not that, but their job is to make you believe that. Matter of fact, I keep hearing this word, oh, we are at war. We are at war. They're not at war. What they're trying to say is they are in a program where my brain is being rewired, and so they have to gaslight me to the point of accepting this and confuse me. They're not. Look. This person sitting there in the bedroom. What war are they in? No, it's just like slowly I'm going to lose my mind, and they're going to slowly change this reality into something else. No, they're just telling themselves they're at war because they do the foulest things you can imagine, and when they trick themselves to believe, oh, we are at war, that's why we can be, that's why we have to dumb ourselves down. Because at war, that's when you could do the worst things. No, I'm a test subject. Just like Catherine Nestor. And you are trying to make me accept these manipulations. You are a coward. You could never look at your war. Look at who your co-workers, there's some actual children involved in this. You see, they're at war too, they're warriors. No, the reality is like they enjoy this opportunity, but they've been humiliated by reality. I feel like they've been so compromised at this point, they will do anything. They will sell their kids. And some have already here. But, these people, they're thankful they don't have to be the one to do that. But I'm very appreciative of these losers next to me, around me, to have done that, because now they can feel better. It's like, oh my gosh, yeah, thank you, yeah. So they're very thankful for that, but they will never want to change places with them. But this guy said something disgusting. If you see all the way on the top, he said something in regard for jacket, some shit like something like that. Excuse my language. I don't want to curse in this video. And what he was trying to say is, in middle school, you see the kid next to him. That's where they say they mapped my brain to. Or even younger than that. They said they make me think the way I thought when I was the same age of this kid. This is a grown man who's a father saying, it just imagine me, I'm looking at him, it's like, hey, we're going to make you think the way you thought when you were that age. Look at him now, and look at this kid over there. Let's just say it's him when he was a kid. It's like, hey, we're going to make you start thinking like that. You see? It makes sense. We're making you think like a child, because when you're a child, that's when you're you. It's so pathetic. And the reason why they're doing that is because when I was in middle school, there was this dumb thing I did to myself, which they tried to exaggerate to the point like, no, you're abused. Because when I was a kid like that, I did something to myself that never happened again. And it was something to myself. So I don't want to go into details, but they wish that there was involvement of somebody else. That was not the case. It was me doing something to myself at the age of the kid that you see to the right. And they want me to believe, like, oh, you see, now we pay for what you did as abuse. But you're going to hear the reality. This is so disturbing. First of all, look at this grown man. I'm about his age. Look at the kid next. Imagine I'm like, hey, I'm going to make you think like a child. As I'm saying that right now, there's a perp in the hallway contracted to disorient me. He's making himself sneeze to interrupt the fact that there's a grown man here who's telling me that they make my brain to the same level of this kid, and that's they mapped it to that. You see, we're not manipulating. They have turned themselves into retards. I don't know how to what term they have turned into. They put themselves on the spectrum. It's embarrassing. Because the reality is, they do the pedophile type of torture. You just heard that. Oh, you think it's just one person saying that? Listen to this.
This is a common breakdown tactic of belief systems and the human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds. And
to interrupt me, they tell me about how this horrible torture is going to happen to me, and so I should stop thinking about things in a rational way. They want me to be put on the spectrum, just like this man as you see there on the left. Can you imagine that? Almost all targeted, and this was surveyed out of 1,000 targeted individuals. Almost all of them are saying they're playing child porn in my mind. Hey, is it getting closer to like something here? You're saying that when interviewing 1,000 individuals who call themselves a target individuals, almost all of them are saying that they're forcing child porn in their mind. What does it mean? Does it mean perhaps there's a tendency to torment the target individual in a pedophilia-centric way? Yes, of course. This person there, he's analytical enough to understand that. There is a trend of some sort that is obvious. That perhaps it doesn't make a lot of sense to say, no, we're making your brain be the brain of a child, like the 8th grader. But maybe there's something about target individual where we are manipulated to experience something that is pedophilia-centric. It doesn't even end there. I can bring some more. Listen to this woman. I bring her testimony a lot. But listen to her. She's saying she's getting these stimulations that they start aiming toward children. She say young people, children, and then homosexual, which all of that, they've done that to me. But listen to this.
But then I told them that they would never take my will, and since we all know how the cycle for the indesirable, and it's in my mind, I can hear my own voice. Pet, and suddenly one day that I was petting him I felt strange, in the sense of the word. I thought, this is strange, and then afterwards that strange sensation continued. Then in that moment I realized that was impost, so I thought, look at this losers, don't know how to put me down, and they are doing this. So I told them that I know what you are trying to do, and I started laughing, and then I said again out loud, you'll never take my will, ASS, so just to show them that I meant what I said, I kept playing with my dog, and even though that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use. A people, better said young people, also children and homosexuals.
Okay, yeah. My point is, it's just too much. This thing can go on. They even do this like dreams manipulations that are pedophilia-centric. Every day I'm being conditioned in this disgusting way. It's like they rewire my brain on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, to make me think about kids in a sexual way. It is so nasty, but it's not rare to just me. They do that to other target individuals, as you hear. Trying to rewire you and then make you accept this manipulation as if it's you. No, we're mapping it. No, you're manipulating me. You are making me experience things all the time that is falsified, that are forced onto me. And by doing that, they also condition your brain. And there's people around making noise campaign. There was some guy sneezing, making, no, we map it's you. And can you imagine? But the thing is, they didn't talk about me as a kid, where they even have to exaggerate. You know, when they say jacket or whatever, he's trying to make me imagine me in create a worse version of what I actually did to myself when I was a kid in middle school. And by the way, let me just say that some of these people have children the same age as when they say they're mapping. They know how children can do impulsive things that they never do again. A child can one day grab a rock, throw it and break a glass, and that never happens again. It doesn't mean that he wants to grab a rock and throw a glass again. He wants to. My point is, that's what a kid is capable of doing. That's what a child is capable of doing as a child, and never do anything. Now, I'm talking to people who have children themselves, so they obviously know even better than me what children are capable of doing and how impulsive, how like their mind is still like in the developing state. So they know that even more than me. I'm talking to people who know very well what children are capable of and how children think, because children are children. They know very well. But the nasty part is, one thing they know very well too, one thing is for sure I didn't let these people escape from, is that this program is utilizing children to even develop the technology that is super sophisticated. You know, with us, target individual, there is a purpose of creating misery. It's part of how they want to capture the psyche of the target individual. The reason why they do the pedophilia type of torture is because they want to depattern you, and because it's break down the target individual. But other things that they break down target individuals is to see a target individual's children suffering. If I'm a target individual and I have children, they will torture the children to see the reaction and to capture the reaction of the target individual. To break that target individual. That's why they're targeting Catherine Nestor and her young child, not only to see the result of what they do to children, but the result of seeing what happens to the target individual, to the mother, what happens when she sees her young child being suffering. When they see the damage, when you're a parent and you're hopeless, you can do nothing. You're defenseless. You can do nothing about what you're seeing your child going through. It's part of this study. I'm saying things for what they are. They want to capture the mind of a target individual in the worst situation. That's why they do this pedophilia type of torture and see how this destructive to you. It's tormenting. But imagine what's more tormenting psychologically to see your child suffering and you can do nothing about it. You have no idea what's happening to this kid. You know something's happening, they're targeting your child, but you can do nothing about it. You can cover it, it's nothing. So listen to what they do and how they make children suffer. These bottom feeders are so nasty, they torture children and use children as test subjects. Just like Catherine Nestor said. So when you look at these bottom feeders involved, they try to make themselves be whatever they... You know how disturbing these people are part of, what program. This is torturers of children. But somehow they're supposed to, they want you to forget this. Listen to what they do and how they abuse children. As they talk about me in middle school and try to exaggerate what I did as a child. How they abuse children and torture children.
I am currently a speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic. And they used her to threaten the most torture in me as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions and had been making incredible progress on all of her therapy goals. This was used to threaten extreme torture on me, making me scream and cry. And this was used to threaten me with severe sexual torture. Large, severe bite mark on her arm. She has also grabbed her crotch, saying, "Ow," and this was used to threaten me with severe sexual torture. One day I also observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. And I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "Ow." I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe pain. I asked him what was wrong and if he needed
sexual torture. 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 7-year-old. As I'm saying that, they do everything possible, like I said, via V2K, to stop the fact that they're involved in a program that does these horrible things to children. This is the nastiness. These bottom feeders are so compromised. And this is why this man's face is the way, well, you can't see that. It's in that way because he knows that I know what they do to children. I know the reality of how disgusting they are to children. The torture of children, the disgustingness of how nasty the things they do to children are just disgusting. This woman has children. This man has his child on. Imagine all of these people you see here have children. And they know that this is happening to children in the program where they're involved in. As I'm saying that they try to like create some nasty, but all of these people have children and they are aware of what they do to children. They are aware how they manipulate the brain in these peripheral ways. They're aware that this mass shooter just ended up killing 18 people because he was being insulted. It's so disgusting. It doesn't even end here. The entities running this program, they're not here protecting children. That's one thing for sure. Entities that utilize children as test subjects. You think they care about children? They care about their children. But, I mean, this program needs to, they need to develop technology that can manipulate all human beings. From the babies to the every human beings. So you think they're not going to do that to children? Of course, that's what you hear that's happening to children. Not only to get the result they want from the adult target individual, but of course, it is part of how they get this technology to be so sophisticated. They need all human beings, a sample of all kinds of human beings, from the babies, the men, the women, the children, and that's that. So they're capable of doing these things to children, and they are doing this thing to children. It's disgusting. They involve, imagine me, I'm a father, I'm a mother, and I'm involved in a program where I know children, even younger than my babies, are getting tortured. But I'm supposed to block it out. And on top of that, the technology on its own is forcing men and women to have reaction toward children that are sexual. I mean, how much can I dumb myself down to think, oh no, but this guy is different. Almost all other target individual with this V2K and synthetic telepathy are talking about some kind of fucking pedophilia type of torture. Excuse my language. Some kind of pedophilia type of torture is happening. Matter of fact, the man who just killed 18 people, ranking this mass shooting as the 10th in all-time United States history, was saying that he was hearing people calling him a pedophile. That within a book that a man was writing regarding of like what all target individuals are experiencing, or majority are experiencing, almost all of them are saying this thing about child porn being planted in their brain. This woman is using this terminology, pedophilia type of torture. But me, I'm supposed to be like, no, this person, we're just making him a child. We mapped it to him as a child. Look what he did as a kid, as a child. So what we're doing is not the pedophilia type of torture, which is usually what we do. But in this time, we didn't have to do that. We just made him a child. You see? We mapped it. We protect kids. Delusional trash, of course. They know that they manipulate me, and what they're trying to do is like, no, but we just camouflage it through you as a child. We try to make you believe that this is where this thing happened, which is on its own shows how illogical they want you to be. These people are very logical individuals. But for this purpose, they will become the most illogical human beings. They have to. This is the things they need to do to cope with reality. And this is part of the job. They're supposed to make me accept these things. This woman that couldn't stop saying, oh, we mapped it. Do you know who's talking? Do you know who these entities, what the issue these entities have? These entities are so disturbingly pedophilia-centric that actually, when it comes to protective services for children, they are ranking these people as consistently the most traffickers of child porn when it comes to networking. So this woman, this man, these adult men and women are thinking that I'm somehow going to forget that the entities that are empowering them to be gods, to be quote-unquote mapping, are so pedophilia-centric that the entities that actually make sure children are safe are saying those entities are so problematic, have so much problem with, they try to make me say something else. There's so much problem that they are trafficking so much child porn that they are being ranked this high out of all the United States networking. Listen to this.
Potentially making this. The Defense Department releasing brand new details into an investigation involving child pornography and dozens of its workers and contractors, some with top-level security clearance. Not only are these very serious accusations, but investigators say some of the people involved were handling the nation's most sensitive secrets, potentially making this a matter of national security. Chief Fox Report correspondent Jonathan Hunt with the news. Appalling story, Jonathan. Do we know more about these people and their security clearances?
Well, we don't know their exact job titles, John, but what we do know is that they did appear to be working, some of them, at high levels across a range of government agencies. Take a look at this, for instance, the National Security Agency, the National Reconnaissance Office, and the very secretive Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. Others also worked on actual military...
has come under investigation for links to the proliferation of graphic material. Called Project Flicker, some 5,000 individuals have been identified as having subscriptions to child porn sites, including many DoD-affiliated persons. So this ongoing national investigation has now prompted the House to introduce a bipartisan bill that would help the DoD stop the use of its network to, quote, possess, procure, or produce child pornography. Joining us to discuss this, investigative journalist Ben Swan. So Ben, the Pentagon already takes measures to limit worker access to stuff like porn by rolling out what they call the Personal Electronic Device PED policy, where workers have to drop off their phones and lockers before entering their offices. All their online searches are accessible by security if or when needed. Their Wi-Fi access is monitored in digital security sweeps. So how is this happening?
Well, it's happening because even though there is a certain amount of limitation on access, those who are working in the Department of Defense, clearly it appears to be thousands of individuals in the Department of Defense, are finding ways around this, specifically by using the Department of Defense IP addresses and also apparently peer-to-peer sharing within the department's network. So this study that was done on this issue, and it is pretty horrifying, Manila, to consider this. It shows that the Department of Defense ranked 19th out of almost 3,000 networks in terms of peer-to-peer sharing of child pornography. That is absolutely incredible. This bill attempts to essentially say, look, we're not doing enough to stop it from coming in, but we're also not doing enough in the Department of Defense to go after those individuals who are being recognized as the ones who were perpetrating this.
So Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger is the co-author to this bill. She said this, quote, the notion that the Department of Defense's network and Pentagon-issued computers may be used to view, create, or circulate such horrifying images is a shameful disgrace and one we must fight head-on. Now, the fact that the Pentagon workers, be they civil or military or otherwise, already submit to a gauntlet of daily scrutiny just going in and out of work, is it fair then to the tens of thousands who are completely innocent to further allow that much more government intrusion into their digital devices or the things that they're dealing with on their computers?
Well, remember that what's being talked about here is not an intrusion into someone's personal device or even their home. This is about saying Department of Defense computers are being misused to share, to spread, to access child pornography. And when you step into an office...
Watchdog Internet Crimes Against Children Child Online Protective Services, the Defense Department... Watchdog such horrifying images is a shameful disgrace, and one we must fight head-on, Spanberger said in a statement. According to child pornography watchdog Internet Crimes Against Children Child Online Protective Services, the Defense Department network consistently ranks in the top tier of Internet service providers for trafficking child pornography. It ranked 19th of nearly 3,000 networks surveyed in 2018.
So, I mean, can you imagine this level of validation in every level? The way they make me think is in this illogical way. So you have grown men and women like them trying to make me think that somehow, right, even though there's a pattern that shows that they've been manipulating people in these disgusting pedophilia ways, that men and women are saying the same thing in regard of we are being forced to get these manipulations. We are being forced to see these things in this nasty, see this thing, to react these ways. As I'm saying that they try to counter by making me nonsensical, but they are plenty of testimonies literally saying the same thing I'm saying. But with me, they're like, no, we mapped it. Matter of fact, I just read an email from work and something about mapping something, and they're like, you see, that's proof. I'm like, what? This is how my brain has been so rewired. But these people have grown men and women, as logical as you can imagine, turning themselves into some illogical beings. Matter of fact, the entities that are running this program are so pedophilia-centric that they are being ranked by the Child Protective. Let me read this again in case it went too fast. The last portion, it came from the CNN article about this bill that is supposed to limit what you just heard. Because according to Child Pornography Watchdog, Internet Crimes Against Children, Child Online Protective Services, the Defense Department Network consistently ranks, let me repeat that, consistently ranks in the top tier of internet service providers for trafficking child pornography. Let me just highlight this portion. Consistently ranks in the top tier of internet service providers for trafficking child pornography. This ranking in 2018 looked at all the network in the United States, which is about 3,000, but the real number is about 2,891 network all around the United States. Out of that 2,891 network, almost 2,900, the DoD, the Department of Defense network, ranked 19th out of 2,900, out of 2,900. This it means they are extremely at the highest level in regard of the volume of trafficking of child porn within the Department of Defense. They are showing some of the most child pornography in the country using Department of Defense network. Those are the entities that are doing this. I'm sorry, listen, I know that these people, these coworkers, these colleagues of mine are supposed to make me believe these things. They're not. I knew the second they hired me, it was just to do this. They were trying to break me down into accepting. Because you see these people, rational, logical individual, but for some reason, they become illogical. Now, regardless of whatever is going to happen to me, first of all, I know who put me in this program. If I had to point out who is responsible for me to becoming a test subject, it's the people who put me in this program. When I worked the first time, my first job, and actually my real first and last job. Now, everywhere I've been working for, they've been trying to break me down. And this organization is the same. They were trying to make me accept this. Because, it's crazy to see people who are logical are really dumbing themselves down. And the reason why they do that is because they want you to dumb down to that level. It's gaslighting. Gaslighting is to try to make somebody believe something that's falsified. So everybody around them do this thing to try to make him or her believe this false reality. With all the validation you have, they're still trying to make you believe other ways. And I'm saying trying because I'm not identifying. I understand. Obviously, my brain is being manipulated. I know this. You heard this nastiness about what's happening in these agencies. I can bring some more because this is not only the Department of Defense, but United States intelligence community is filled with pedophiles too. CIA, they call some CIA agent that knows thousands of child porn. There's a lot of this pedophilia. Pedophilia is just rampant in this environment. And the same entities with these nasty issues are using test subjects to improve their technology. And one common tactic they've been utilizing to break people down in order to depart on you, because there is this tactic that apparently is used, they apparently, according to what it seems, they are breaking us down to rebuild us in different fashion. TI are the pattern. They try to break our self-image, our ego, and so they can recreate us in different version. It seems like it's part of how they are controlling us and how they are able to control. It's part of how, the more misery, the more broken down we are, the better they can build us up. Not the better, but the better they can manipulate us. So these tormenting tactics, it seems to be working for almost all target individual. But it helps to get to that point. The breaking down of the target individual in that fashion seems to be working probably one of the most efficient way. That they're using this onto us, and then it helps them in regard of able to manipulate us. For me, slowly I can feel myself I'm losing myself more and more per day, per minute. It's so hard for me to remember myself without getting these nasty reactions, because they've been manipulating me 24/7. And they can do that any ways possible. They can manipulate, they can turn it off, turn it on. It's crazy. Playing, sometimes it's extreme stimulation. It's like non-stop. It's so nasty. So this man with his child there on his shoulder knows that they can make me have nasty reaction toward his child. And they love that. It's like, oh, you see? It's like, oh, you're going to die for it. It's like, no, you're making me experience these things. Matter of fact, as I was speaking, I accidentally flipped my lip. And that was enough for them to create some stimulation. They have rewired my brain in ways that don't make sense. When I try to express what's happening, there's certain things I don't want to do, because even those things that have nothing to do with anything can be turned into something pedophilia-centric. But it's the things they do. So you see that men there talk about jacking it. This is nasty. These are disgusting. To try to exaggerate what a child did, for you to feel comfortable with the reality you're in, that you're in a program that does these horrible things to even children. The entities running this program have this nasty, consistent issue. While you talk about a dumb kid in middle school who do something stupid once, and it's just, that's how dumb down they have to be. I don't think I'm any smarter than them, but they have to dumb themselves down, because the reality of what they're part of is just obvious. They know who's the threat to children. Entities that have that much issue with child porn obviously shows a pattern that perhaps they are a threat to children. Perhaps there's a lot of people there that are threats to children. They can't even stop their own employees from using the computers provided by these governmental entities from downloading and sharing child porn within the DoD network. It doesn't take the type of technology they need. It's not like these people are working on some of the most sophisticated technologies you can even imagine. They are even unable to stop the child porn circulations within the DoD network. And they're here telling you, no, we mapped it. Us who do the pedophilia type of torture. Because it's obvious. Their job here is to make me accept these manipulations. And it got to the point where they say, no, we're making you be the child. You see, like, we're making you think the way you were thinking when you were a kid, like that. You see? Because that makes sense. That's when you're very much the most logical person. That's when you're the most you. When you're like a child in middle school who's still developing mentally. It's delusional. In my brain, they have this rationality. It's like, no, when you're a child, you're pure. Like, oh my gosh, stupidity. It's just illogical. Instead of, oh, maybe they're doing this pedophilia type of torture that a lot of people are talking about. A lot of target individuals are saying the same things. Maybe these entities that have so much problem with pedophilia that they're being ranked top tier are maybe forcing target individuals to feel and experience things they won't experience naturally, but in the very pedophilia-centric. It's obvious that these people have sold their soul to these governmental entities that are very pedophilia-centric. And for me, for example, this woman you see. This woman, she literally, what she's doing, and it's just so nasty. She literally tried to make me think that because she's a woman, that, you know, the feminism is what's happening here. This is strong femme fatale. Avenging for what I've done. Not only when I was a kid, which they have to exaggerate, but for whoever women that they say I did wrong. I'm like, do you understand that I know that these things is done to some of the most defensive, like to vulnerable people. You heard what they do to children. If I brought up testimonies of women, you would be shocked how nasty they use rape as a systematic tool to get those misery that they will look for in a targeted individual. I think I want to wrap up this just bringing up something in regard of this woman's testimony. Lisa Baker, in 2015, there was this thing in California. She spoke up about what was happening to her. Listen to that.
You feel that you've been injustice? You mean as far as the Justice Department feeling me? Well, in terms of your being a victim. You mean what I'm feeling? Yeah, explain a little bit to me how you perceive yourself as being. I have actual photographs of burns on my body. When I went to my doctor, the response was, how do I know you didn't do that to yourself? How do you even address that? I've passed 2 psychological evaluations, not 1 but 2. The one physician said, you're mentally sound as a bell. He said, I don't have any idea what's going on with you. When I go to sleep, when I go to try to sleep, I feel like I'm being lit up like a Christmas tree. I feel every cell in my body just bouncing out of my body. I can't even describe it. I get electric shock of my rectum. I get electric shock of my nose. I've woken up with burns on the end of my tongue. I've had burns on the palms of both of my hands. I vibrate. I can barely hold a piece of paper without quivering. Does that answer your question? I'm trying to find what's the source of the... The source are these exotic weapons. They talk about in 2970 that if you would pass it, it might give other communities the courage to do the same thing and show our Defense Department we are not the enemy. We are not to be attacked. We are not terrorists. Most of us are defenseless women.
So you hear that at the end, she says most of us are defenseless women. There's a lot of women. I don't know the percentage, but there's a high percentage of women being tortured. They had to deal with it for decades. I don't know how they even managed to deal with that for this long. You know, it's funny, the people that are doing this thing to me, it's like, no, we freed them. It's like, yeah, well, after 20 years of pure torture? I don't even want to, like, I don't know how the strength to deal with this for as long as they deal with. That shows that these women have this desire to live so much that they can endure for longer than men. But the reality is, like, they torture women. These women fully involved in a program that torture a lot of women. And some of these women talking to me have tortured women. I know. Some of them would just try to mock the testimonial, or when I was seeing pictures of like women burned. They're like, oh, we burned them. Talk about these women target individuals. Mocking them for the torture. As they try to manipulate me to counter reality. So I know that. She knows that right now these people are involved in a program in torturing women, a lot of women, and they have a lot of them actually. Well, let me just say, I know that the people involving themselves in my torture, regardless of they're men or women, have participated in the torturing of women. So I know what they're capable of doing and the danger they are to women. So when it's like, now for this woman, for Courtney, for Brittany, it's like, oh my, I just pray. I pray that Courtney and Brittany is never put in this program. Because I have a list on my fridge of the different people that are women in the United States that are being tortured. Just a light list. I know there's way more than that. So I think if I really dedicate my time, I could fill my whole fridge with women, American women being tortured. But I have like a list of about 57 or so individuals who are women in America being tortured. Used as test subjects. And they do horrible things to them. Horrible. So I know to not subscribe or identify with this falsified reality. Because they want you to believe that this is anything but a massive government that's doing this thing to us for the purpose of developing this technology. Let's remember what was happening in the 60s. Just in the 60s.
In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. The project reportedly ended in 1969, but DARPA's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control the brain continues to this day.
You hear that? Oh, by the way, let me just bring up a mass shooting that happened in, I believe, in 2014. Listen to this.
Why? Was a mentally unstable individual. This shotgun is the primary murder weapon. On it, he etched a number of carvings, including "End to the Torment," "Better Off This Way," and my ELF weapon. Alexis had been hearing voices and believed he was being bombarded by microwaves, something naval authorities knew about.
There are multiple indicators that Alexis held a delusional belief that he was being controlled or influenced by extremely low frequency, or ELF, electromagnetic waves.
And in his computer files, the FBI found this.
A document retrieved from the electronic media stated, quote, "Ultra-low frequency attack is what I've been subject to for the last 3 months. And to be perfectly honest, that is what has driven me to this."
And so on what should have been a routine day, Alexis killed 12 people. Mothers, fathers, sons, daughters. Diane, they never had a chance, and still no answers as to why so many red flags were missed.
As you say, so many red flags.
You heard this man killing, I think, 12 people? Mother, fathers, and children of people. I mean, they were all adults. But he said something, as I'm saying that they try to manipulate me. He said something very weird about that the reason why he killed these people, the reason why he did what he did, is because he believes he was being manipulated and or influenced by electromagnetic waves. This thing that you heard that DoD was working on, not the DoD, well, the DARPA, which is part of DoD, they were using electromagnetic radiation on men to see how they can manipulate them, alter the mind. Now it's obvious that this is in the 60s. Obviously, technology now is to another level that is just like not even comparable. It's just another level. But these people are trying to make me believe that no, we're different. We try to make you believe that you're not being manipulated. That these people are just some kind of like a vengeful, fierce femme fatale, and that I'm not a test subject like so many other test subjects. Some of them ended up killing, just like this man who killed 12 people. Just like that man in October in 2023 killed 18 people. But there are some fierce femme fatale living next to me, near me, or trash. Because this is what they do. It's part of the psyop. Now listen to this commonly tactics of not only try to break you down with these disturbing things, but try to make you believe that this is anything but this massive government. Listen to this.
Can I talk? Here's how I do my studies, and I wanted to find the commonalities, but I have to throw away the ones I'm uncertain about that are true targets. Maybe there's natural schizophrenia, there's a whole bunch of chemical imbalances, etc.
Right.
These weapons can actually induce and mimic all those diseases and effects. But the conversations, the scripts they're called, are always the same. I've heard them all. They're slightly tailored for each individual, but they're scripts. And they're meant to confuse, the very derogatory. That's just typical breakdown. If you've ever been to boot camp, you're a worm until you're part of the team. And why would you want to break down the ego of that person? To rebuild it. So this gets into so they'll say we're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's, satanic ritual abuse. And I've heard all the stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe something other than a massive government could do this. And so, anyway,
So this is what they like to do. They're trying to make you believe this false reality that at this point for me is not going to work. But I'm a target individual. This technology is extremely advanced. There's nothing I can do about it. They will manipulate my brain however they want me to. And whatever is going to happen to me is going to happen to me because these governmental entities are running this program. I know that everything in my life is going to be orchestrated in a way that's disturbing. So they tell me how they're going to frame me. They tell me the frame are going to be pedophilia-centric. There's some childlike individual here who's going to say that I did something to them. They tell me how they're going to frame me by using this neighbor kids, some teenage kids. Some of them, someday I hear them, oh, I'm 14 years, out of nowhere. Like I'm in my apartment and I hear somebody opening the doors like, oh my gosh, I'm a 14-year-old. And it's like, oh, I'm 16. Oh, I'm like, okay, well, something is happening that I'm not aware of. And then one day I'll be aware of that. But it sounds like there's going to be some kind of framing of some sort. That things are happening that I'm completely unaware of. That perhaps my phone is hacked, which I know is fully hacked, beyond fully hacked. That perhaps they're having this, using my phone, having these interactions that I don't know is happening, but it's happening with my number or my phone, something like that. Now imagine they are completely manipulating my brain. So my phone is just nothing. Who knows what's happening? And so they tell me how they're gonna frame me using these childlike individuals. The other ways they're saying they're going to do that is they're going to implant child porn. These people who obviously work for governmental entities, regardless of what they try to paint themselves as protectors of women or children, they obviously are working for these governmental entities that you heard. Did you heard that, right?
In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. The project reportedly ended in 1969, but DARPA's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control the brain continues to this day.
That obviously this is not these entities that have been working on how to manipulate the brain. But they are this femme fatale, and they're gonna frame me because this is for justice. You heard the torture of women, you heard the torture of children, you heard the mass shooting that just happened, you heard the horrible things from women all around the world even saying this. So these people, if anybody needs to be avenged, it's all the life that these people have destroyed and involved in. And in regard of how they manipulate us, it's so disturbing to be manipulated in this pedophilia-centric way. But the way, way they say they're going to frame me, they're going to implant child porn. Listen to the people who say they're going to implant child porn and the entities they're working for.
There are so many pedophiles allowed to be given top-level security clearance. Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview your family, they interview your contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking, these digital footprints, they're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their ranks? If it were up to me, you need to go into Congress, and Congress needs to launch a brand new church committee, number one, to talk about domestic surveillance operations, but number two, to ask the question, why are there so many pedophiles sitting behind
CIA raping children and sexually assaulting children, and they're not being prosecuted? Where are you?
So these people saying they're going to implant child porn, working for these entities, and try to sound fierce because they're because their gender makes them fierce. First of all, I don't know if I brought it up, but this target individuals who are women who say there's a lot of females doing this. Listen to this.
But I was going to be shot in the face, and it was an older guy. He was like really, really disgruntled and pissed off. Yeah, she's going to be shot in the face. Sound like an angry ass old person. Then a couple of days later, a female said the same thing. Don't get shot in the face. Stupid shit like that. But what I really noticed is with the Voice of Skull, it's a bunch of females. And I'm like, bro, really? You're not allowed this to go on. You really think They go, really? You're not a woman. What real woman would stalk another female or sit back and allow that to go on? You really think they think it's nothing wrong with them? Basically, you know, they call me retarded bitch and all of this here, but I was.
You hear that? So these perps want me to ignore all of this and believe that they're not manipulating me. They're not forcing me to experience these things. That this is happening naturally. With all due respect, I will never let them live this fantasy, this trash, and I have to call them trash, compromise themselves, and now have stooped to this level. It's obvious the governmental entities are running this program. It's obvious these governmental entities have done some terrible things and are doing terrible things today to not only men, but women and children, not only in this country, not even domestically, but internationally. And understand why they do this, in the sense of the purpose of what they're doing. They're not doing this just to destroy life for fun, for avenging, or whatever BS story they try to come up with. It's because they're developing technology that is super sophisticated, that can manipulate human beings, and they continuously adding precision to it. That's why they're doing this to men, to women, and children. And this is why they're torturing us in these ways, to create this misery for the purpose of the result that they want to get out of you, so they can continuously improve on this technology. We are human guinea pigs, and some of the guinea pigs are not only men, but women and children. And women are calling out the fact there's a lot of females participating in their tortures, in their manipulations. But somehow want me to like, oh no, you know what, these people, they're not doing the same things that they've done to so many others. But for me, it's just mapping. They're making me be a child. That makes a lot of sense. They aren't doing the manipulation they've done to any other person. But, you know, it makes sense that, you know, the best way to make sense of things is make this person have the developing brain of a child. Because I know this is not what they're doing. They're doing this because it causes misery, psychological tormenting. To manipulate a man or a woman in this way disturbs them. Because you heard what Robert Dawkins said, the man that was talking about these tactics of the patterning you. This is ways to break you down, to rebuild you in the ways they want you to be rebuilt. Now, for me, it's never going to happen. I'm never going to be identified. I will be manipulated however they want me to, to be manipulated, but I will never identify with these manipulations. So I expect some horrible things happening to me, because not only did not identify with these manipulations, but most importantly, this psyop that they wanted to create. They wanted to be this femme fatale, fierce, like avenging children, protecting children. When they, in all the ways you can look at it, these people are the most threatening, the most dangerous entities, individuals. In regard of, and of course, as an entity, individually, they can do nothing. To women and children, you heard the horrible things to do to children. You heard the horrible things to do. Actually, you just heard a little sample of what they do to women. Women torture is just so nasty. She's so nasty. So for me, I'm just so thankful that I did not partake and see myself, dumbing myself down like these people you see in front of me, to try to counter the reality for the purpose of gaslighting a test subject into accepting these manipulations. So whatever I go through, I ask God to give me strength. It's going to be a lot of horrible things. They're going to try to torture me into humiliate, because I humiliate them by bringing up just the reality of things. To them, that was provoking. To show themselves what they truly are, instead of this fantasy they wanted to present themselves as. Never. I could never let them leave that fantasy. They stoop to this level, they're going to have to accept and stay in that level for the rest of their life. To all my target individual, stay strong.